Welcome back, guys, to the Artful Podcast. This is Matteo. I'm an artist, and this is my podcast where I talk about art, artists, and I talk to artists as well. And I invite them to the podcast where they explain their practice and how they approach the artworks. And it's really interesting. We have finally video as well. So this is the first episode where we have video, and it was only audio before, and I wanted to wait to do everything as best I can with the video before I start doing a podcast with video as well. And I think it's really important to have video so you can see the actual discussion as well. So with the artist. In today's episode, I have Ashley. She's been great. It was a lovely chat. In my studio chat, I will show you later. We talk about her practice and how she approached her artworks. And it was really interesting. I really enjoyed it. But before we get into that, I was reading online some news about art in general, and I came across basically galleries and museums that are struggling. Some of them, they are closed at the moment, obviously because of COVID. And I was reading that the major museum and galleries are open, obviously with restrictions, but they're struggling still to have people coming in, obviously because I guess they are afraid. So they're struggling and they're not getting enough money, and they don't know if they're gonna be open for longer. For curiosity, I went online and I read that the creative industries contribute for 111.7 billion to the UK in 2018, and it was the equivalent of 306 million every day. So it's a huge part of a country economy. And obviously, as every industries right now, they are getting hit by the COVID situation, and they cannot act as normal anymore, so they need to adapt and stuff like that, which is it's really painful in a way, because obviously as an artist it really impact my practice. And and thinking of galleries closing, they cannot be open, closing for good as well. It's really painful. Hopefully 2020 is finishing really soon. Hopefully 2021 will be better, and so fingers crossed, and with hopes high, we are hoping to go back out there and do better. So hopefully, let's jump into it straight away. Today's episode, as I said, in the studio chat of today, we had Ashley, and I will put some artworks during the chat, and I really encourage everyone to go there, support her as well. Go to her Instagram. Obviously, don't forget to subscribe to this channel, and I have so many more artists planned in the future to talk to, and they're gonna be all really good, interesting. And as I said, please subscribe to the channel, or grow the number, and it will make the channel even better. So, not further ado, guys. This was Ashley Studio Chat.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. Amazing. Sorry, I don't know why that wasn't working.
Don't worry. I don't know. That's literally the first time that I use this, so I couldn't help. But
yeah. How are you?
Yeah, not too bad. How are you doing?
Okay. It's good to get up in the morning and get dressed. Just usually we're in a really small apartment at the moment. I'm going from bed to make a cup of tea to starting artwork, and then that's it. You don't kind of move around a little bit more. It doesn't matter what you're wearing. So I just thought, oh, might actually get Jess today. Treat you all.
Yeah, it's weird because like we're not doing anything right now, so we don't get dressed to get out or something.
No.
Yeah.
Bristol going into tier 2 the other day. We went out for the first meal in God knows how long, and I looked like I looked like a drag queen, to be honest with you, because I was just like everything. I'll just stick it on my face.
That's my chance.
Yeah, exactly.
Shine. So are you calling from Bristol, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually didn't know if you were in Bristol. I was actually going to ask you. Wait.
Oh really? Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm in Bristol. We've been here I live here with my fiance. We've been here for, oh God, like 4 or 5 years or so, but different places and dotted all over the place.
Okay.
So not from Bristol, I'm from Birmingham. So.
Fair. Are you originally from Bristol, or you moving?
Nope.
Oh.
No, I went to uni in Cardiff, and Sam went to Bristol, so he got a job here first, so I just kind of came over the water to join him, and then never left, really. I love it. I love Bristol.
Yeah. I was supposed to be here just for a bit. I was traveling, moving around. There was a friend here, and was like, oh, come here, like, you know, improve English and stuff like that. Yeah. And I started working, and then I met my old friend. I started studying. It's 7 years past, like
like that, isn't it?
Yeah, like.
When you've got everything on your doorstep, you don't need to leave, do you? I always think of Bristol as like a mini microcosm of London in a way, isn't it? Because it's got like so many areas, but all in walkable or electric scootable distance.
Yeah. No, it's true. It's really nice because it feels like a small town, but you can do a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
And it's
artsy.
Nice. Yeah, it's quite artsy as well. Yeah, it always helps.
And where are you from originally?
South of Italy. So beautiful places, not much to do. So to be honest, I always wanted to travel, and I started travel when I was at the end of 18. Yeah. So when I was almost 19, I decided to pack and go. And anyway, for today's episode, we have Ashley with us. And why you don't just introduce yourself, Ashley?
So I am a full-time artist, originally from Birmingham, but living in Bristol, and I work mostly in mixed media, but it's tended to be pencil recently, to be honest, because in lockdown we've been dotting all over the place, so it's the most accessible medium for me, and you can kind of whip it out anywhere and start creating, you know, in whatever place you're in, no matter how much space you have, really. And I'm very, very much still at the start of my journey, I would say, because I didn't train in art. I am a little bit of a mongrel in that I started actually, well, I did art at A level, loved it, and without sounding too, am I allowed to swear? Without sounding too like I feel like it's what I should have done from the get-go, but it didn't. My chips didn't quite fall in that way. So I actually was a physiotherapist for a time, and then I worked in the pharmaceutical industry for a time as well. And then COVID in a way has kind of given me the opportunity to do this full time. And I know I'm very, very lucky in that sense. So kind of, you know, silver linings and all that. So it's a really exciting time for me, and I mean, I'm sure it will come out during the podcast how much change, and it's just, I guess I'm in that period at the moment where if I have trained, I'm in the experimental phase of uni, where you do lots of different things and kind of really find your niche. So I'm in that phase at the moment, but very much starting to come out of it, I would hope. Now, so I'm starting to settle down.
That's very interesting. It's completely like really different field that where you started from, like as like the physiotherapist, and now you jumped into art, and it's really brave, and I like it.
it's terrifying and slightly stupid. but,
Terrifying.
but we have the I'm just lucky enough to be able to do it. I've got a very supportive partner, so it's just it's now I have the time and the headspace, I guess, to really commit to it. It is completely bonkers and different, but and you, like, you know, when you do physiotherapy, and you very much have to have a scientific brain, but it is also very practical. So you have all of those kind of practical skills and lots of, I mean, common sense, really, some common sense skills, and you can apply it to your artwork, because it's a practical skill like any other, I guess. That's the way I look at it, and I do have that kind of scientific side of my brain switched on, as well as the artsy side. So sometimes,
if you can join the both, definitely something good will come out.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, again, I don't want to sound too ranky, but physiotherapy is like very much feeling for small changes, literally in your hands, feeling for small changes, being very, very observant of things, of people, of the way people move, how people look, you know, even if you're looking at these knees. And I think that helps me, one, kind of anatomically, because I am starting to focus on more figurative things at the moment, but secondly, it's just that kind of degree of observation that you have to use. That's something which I know it's completely different to how you're trained to do it in physiotherapy, but it is definitely something that translates.
I can see obviously a little bit of how you can use the both side of, and how I'm interested in, like, how did you jump? So is it because of COVID that you decided to start doing that full time?
No, I mean, I did physiotherapy. Yeah, I was a physiotherapist for nearly a year and a half, 2 years. And I just decided it wasn't for me. So I actually went into pharmaceuticals from there and did more of a sales type role around the Southwest. And again, decided it wasn't for me. I've always had that kind of niggling that really I should be doing art. And the mechanics of me getting into it was basically at the end of last year. Me and my partner wanted to go on a sabbatical for 5 months, so I actually quit my job with GSK, and we went travelling. And then 2.5 months into that, COVID hit, so we ended up coming back, and he could start back at work. But obviously, I was unemployed and thought,
why not? You can
might give this a go now. Absolutely, really exciting actually, and I feel really lucky to have had.
So it's really the beginning, as you said, of the journey. Like you started few months later, like ago, to do this.
Yeah, and I guess, well, I mean, I've always done it. Yeah, I've always done. It's difficult. I've always done art, but I've never called myself an artist.
Yeah,
if you like, because I've always been art as part-time. And for how long? For maybe a year and a half before we went travelling, I was doing artwork and I was doing exhibitions, but only ever part-time. Like, you know, late into the evenings and on the weekends, whenever I could, really.
It wasn't something that we were focused on. And
no, I guess that was the bulk of my experimental stage, because if you look at my work now compared to what I was doing then, you won't be able to find it on Instagram, because I thought it was so distracting, because it was so different to what I'm doing now, that I'm better off just to archive it. So I actually did huge kind of pour painting abstracts, and I do still do some of those now on commission, but and then I also went into I did a small cloud series that I exhibitioned in Putney at the end of last year as well. So and then it's my experimental stage of just trying to find out what works for me and what's going to sustain long term, I guess, because it's all about what you feel passionate about. Is what I'm trying to focus on now, rather than, in the nicest way, people pleasers. So that's what I'm trying to focus on now. So I have been doing it for a while, but only really full time in the past, say, 6 months or so.
Oh, that's cool. Because that's how I'll like find out about you, because of Instagram, and what really interested me of your artworks, it's few things, and now you're saying that it's only a few months that you took it like seriously, as I said, I would say,
Yeah.
and it's really impressive, because there is a lot of like really cool techniques behind like your artworks, and if it's like brand new, even if you've been doing that for a while, it's really impressive.
Appreciate that. Thank
Yeah,
you.
I really like the obviously like the mixed media that you use, and like how you can connect the two medias or in the same artwork, and it's not that easy. It's something that I even try to experiment and try to use as well, and it's not easy. So
No, it is difficult, and I know what you mean, because I feel like because I haven't had much time, now the pressure is on to kind of, make a living from my artwork. I feel like the change in it, in my, or the, what would you call it, the evolution of my artwork has just been accelerated really quickly. And because I'm really, really trying to find my niche, and I know that it's not so simple as like, oh, if you push, you'll find it, but I'm hoping that if I speed things up a little, then I'll get there a bit sooner without forcing it too much. And I mean, most of the stuff on my Instagram is, I started doing the 100 heads challenge. I don't know whether you saw that on Instagram.
Yeah, I saw that.
And I thought, it was at the very start of lockdown, and I thought, well, maybe that's a good thing to do. It's something to focus on. And to be honest, I fell out of that quite quickly, which doesn't look very good for my consistency. But I think I got to like 62 or something like that unofficially, which is a lot, but it gave me the opportunity as well to look at the one that I'd done previously, took what I liked, left what I didn't, and move on really quickly. And that includes, sorry, you can hear the Bristol seagulls, that includes kind of experimenting with the mixed media side quite quickly as well, and just finding out what works, because I guess there's a lot of playing around, isn't it? And it's quite difficult and I found it quite difficult to make the different mixed medias connect in a way that looks seamless, but you can quite clearly see that there's two very different textures or techniques or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's something, that I've had to move through quite quickly, but I'm really getting my teeth into it now and finding out what works for me.
Yeah, no, that's the what really captivate of your artworks. It's like the use of like the mixed media, and even because you don't really see it that often. People are more often they use one media and they stick to it, and it's not easy for people to get out their comfort zone and try different things. For example, I love oil painting, and I try to do as much oil painting as I can, but it's good to try to push and not use the media that you're comfortable with, because it's always like something that it might click in your mind, and you start changing and start using, then it might change your artworks and in a better way, or
definitely
even just experimental.
Yeah, it's happy accidents, absolutely. And I mean, perhaps it's because I'm so early on that I haven't had that time and space in uni to experiment like that, which is why I want to get through all of these different mediums, because perhaps in my mind, the grass is greener somewhere else, and there's something that I'm missing because I haven't trained, perhaps subconsciously. But I'm also one of those people that my brain moves way faster than my hands can, and so I have all these kind of like ideas coming off left, right and centre, and if I don't nail them down and put something on paper or wood, as it would be nowadays, that I'm going to lose it, and be an opportunity gone. And I guess that has a curse and a blessing, because it can distract you, and it can make your artwork look inconsistent, perhaps, which I'm sure mine has in the past. And but it also, like you said, happy accidents, and things can work out sometimes, and then you can really run with it.
Did your practice change that drastically during the years, of like the few months that you've been doing this?
Yeah, I would say so, to be honest, because I mean, for example, the first couple of heads that I did, the first couple of portraits, I mean, I guess It has and it hasn't. I think the bones of it are staying the same. The very, very bones of it is kind of developing very, very slowly, like glacial pace, but everything around it, all the paraphernalia around the meaning is changing, how I present it is changing, but the bones of it is very similar. What I focus on is female portraits or female figures, and I also do quite a lot with plants, house plants in particular, because I find it really interesting at the moment. I've written about it in my artist statement. There's a little thing that I term the houseplant generation, and it's very much because, you know, classical artists are inspired by nature as a general term, and
yeah,
the area of nature that I find really interesting is the ones that we're bringing into our homes at the moment, but especially young contemporary women. Probably because it's what I relate to myself, and you can probably see my little succulent somewhere. I'm really sad. I've taken all of my houseplants to all of my babies back home in Birmingham, so they can be watered while we're moving house here. So I'm missing them a little bit. But yeah, that's what I really focus on. And I guess, I mean, the way I think through it, or the way I think of it, I guess, is that, I mean, my interest is in women and how they've changed. And I think it's probably from my own experience, because we have this weird, like, 4-generational overlap at the moment, where we have our grandparents who are, not all as a general rule, but, you know, they're more traditional potentially in their value. Our mums, who, you know, my mum works full-time as a senior police officer and very, very, you know, accomplished at her work, and, you know, very well respected in her field. And then with a mum of 4 as well. And then our generation, where are we millennials? I think we're millennials, aren't we? And then the next one is Generation X. Yeah, 'cause it's like 18 onwards, where you've grown up through the social media stage. And then that 4th generation now, which is my little sister, which, oh my God, it baffles me, because it's like social media all the time, and photos and clothes, and I can't keep up with it. And I just find the friction between them really, really interesting.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, and just like with the different values that are mixed in, and with getting influenced from here and from here, and I just find it really interesting how my generation in particular responds to that, and women specifically. So yeah, because I mean, I've written it in my artist statement. It took me a while to try and verbalize what I meant by it. But for example, even my mum had 2 children, a husband, a house, and a full-time job at my age, and I'm only 27. Whereas nowadays, with how, like, you know, society has changed, and, you know, finances have changed, it's much more difficult to buy a house. And when you have a rental, you know, you can't put stuff up on the walls or get a dog. So people tend to get plants instead of dogs. And it's like how people are replacing children and pets with plants. And I find it really interesting. It's so true when you think
about it. Yeah, people do that. It's true.
Because people want that kind of like responsibility and, is it sad to say company?
No. To be honest, my girlfriend got into plants recently, and she's trying to fill the whole living room with plants, and I like her, I don't mind, but yeah, I know what you mean completely. And it is something like that. She talks about like she needs to take care of it. I'm like,
yeah,
do you really?
No, honestly, I mean, it's true. It could get really deep here. It could get really, really deep, because I've thought about this in quite some detail, and I don't mean to, but I guess when you see people, or me personally, feeling at my age, if you choose to have children or want children, I'm not saying any or all women do, but I know that I do, and like it's not the right time. So everybody's kind of having children later in their life.
Yeah.
And there's that overwhelming feeling for me of needing to nurture something, and for me that's plants. And my fiance, to some extent, I don't know whether you can hear me, but I just find that really interesting. And through my artwork, a lot of it's a little bit sarcastic, a lot of it's a little bit tongue-in-cheek in the way that I present it. And I guess I find I think it's maybe looking at my friends who are quite similar to me, I find it quite funny how we do that, and I find it quite entertaining, and I find, you know, that side of contemporary women just a really interesting, funny and relatable topic to focus on.
How would you say that you translate all this quite deep, like whole like thinking into your artwork? Because it seems like really a light kind of vibe that you get from your artworks, and it's not, and it's really interesting because it means like you're able to transmit that without making thinking people, and I think it's really good because sometimes art can be really heavy, and people, that's why sometimes they're really detached from it. And how do you try to do that?
I guess it's very, I mean, art is what you take from it, isn't it? And I guess it's very subliminal messaging in a way through consistency. And I do work from photographs and from free images, so I use Unsplash quite a lot, and I will search for God knows how long, scrolling through Unsplash to try and find the right expression in someone's face. And you know, not every artwork that I create is probably going to be that clear that that's what I mean, but certainly with the portrait, so I've done a series of faces which cut off here, and they just show this part of a woman's face, and it's just trying to catch. Photos work for me. Some people find them quite limiting, but photos work for me because I'm trying to catch that moment in time where a woman is thinking something funny, sarcastic, something, and representing it that way, where you can apply your own thoughts to it, really. Because I guess that the other thing, like the paraphernalia that I was talking about that goes around the actual figure or the portrait, the people that will be attracted to it, I assume, is young contemporary women. When I say young, I don't necessarily mean young, I mean just contemporary thoughts. And you know, it's the colours that I'm using, the content, the plants, the way the people are dressed in my portraits, in my figures, the set out, the names that I give it, and probably where I price it as well. I think that it's not so much anyone who is looking at the artwork would think what I'm thinking, but the people that I'm aiming it at, I think that they would see some kind of relatability in it more than anything.
Yeah, that's really
interesting. If that makes sense, that's a really
as I said, it's not in your face kind of thing. It's true, like the name that you give and how you dress them, how you put, like how you place the face and the whole composition. It's I think you get the message in a way even without like really realizing that they do, and I think that's really, it's a good way to communicate what you want without like too much in somebody's face. And
that's the thing. Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? Because I mean, I went through a stage of writing about the artwork as well, I guess, as another creative outlet, just actually writing about it, and also, you know, to give it a little bit of context. But I don't know whether that was forcing my opinion or my interpretation of the artwork on people more than just saying, here's an image, take of it what you will, as with most artists would do. So I have backed off from that a little bit. But I mean, if I use one, for example, if anybody's listening and wanted to look it up, it was Turning 20 What? So there was an image of a woman, or kind of a portrait of a woman finished here, and she was wearing a party hat. And it's because I was turning 27 and everyone's like, oh, 27, you know, there's a real stigma around female aging, which I just think is, again, it's that weird friction where a lot of women nowadays are like, yeah, what, don't care.
Yeah, 27.
I'm handsome, a steady rental, and yeah, I'm winning at life, whereas my mum had kids and a job and a house. So, and it's that kind of tongue-in-cheek representation of something which is bigger, I guess.
Yeah.
And the drawings of this woman, like, yeah, and what with a party.
Yeah.
And you're not gonna well, perhaps people will, but I don't think it's my interpretation, I guess. It's my interpretation of what I'm doing rather than everybody else's. So take from it what you will, but there is more layers of thinking behind it than everybody thought.
I like that. I like that a lot. I do that a lot as well with my art. It's it could be even like a simple drawing, a simple painting, a simple that could seem simple and nothing behind. But for me, there is the whole concept behind. But it doesn't need to be everybody's concept, everybody's ideas, because everyone can take from my painting, from my drawing, anything like that. It doesn't need to be what I am thinking, unless I decide so. But I rather people to look at the image and decide what they want to see, and I'm happy with that, because somebody's like just all like about like their life and how they see stuff. So it's really interesting to see what they see into your artworks.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's made up from experiences, isn't it? And if you're going to spend an hour, 3 hours, 10 hours doing an artwork, then there's bound to be some stamp of your interpretation on it somewhere. And perhaps some people pick that up, but like you said, unless you have a really strong message that you're trying to get across with a certain artwork, and it's almost like an activism type thing, then people will take from it what they will, and that's okay as well. That's the beauty of it. Apart from when somebody asks you, so what's that supposed to be? Oh gosh, that's the worst question in the world, isn't it, for an artist? So what's it meant to be? Oh god.
And like, are you sure you want to know? Because we can be here for a long time.
Exactly. You're gonna regret asking me that question.
How do you work? How do you approach that terrifying white canvas or white paper? How do you start something? Even because it's more interesting, I ask you this because obviously you use mixed media, and how do you decide which one to use first, and how do you play with it? Is it just on the moment, or you kind of plan?
I go both ways, I think. I mean, very first, like I said, I feel like my core is staying the same, and the bits around it are changing. And I guess it's how lockdown. It's what space I have, and what kind of access to space and surfaces that I have. And it's been a little bit difficult using paint in a rental because you don't want to get anything too messy, and we're in quite a small one at the moment. So that's first consideration. But for me, really, I guess it's about finding the image that I want to represent and what I think best suits that. I think that I tend to incubate my ideas for a very, very, very long time before I get going on something. But then when I do start to put, say, I don't know, paint down, pencil down, or some materials down. I've done a little bit of collage recently. I find that if I start getting the basics down, stop, and then start planning, it works for me quite a lot. When I don't plan, I'm usually disappointed with the result, I would say, because I just don't think it's as considered. Perhaps maybe the best laid plans in my brain do not always translate onto surface. But when I stop and really incubate the idea and then get it down, I'm a little bit happier with the result. I have to say I suffer from that millennial disease of instant gratification. I want something to be good first time. I want to love it, and I want it quickly rather than holding the reins and taking a long time to do things. That doesn't work so much for me. I don't get as much satisfaction from that when I do it. So I'm one of those that would definitely eat the marshmallow straight away when they went out the room. I'm definitely one of those.
That's fine.
Yeah, it's true.
Sorry, my dog is going crazy.
Oh, cute. Yeah. We're going to get one in February, so I'm excited.
What's that?
We're going to get a dog in February, perhaps. So very excited for that.
That's cool. They're great.
Yeah, can't wait. Sorry from your question, but I guess how do I do it? practically, physically, is like pencil at the moment is my base, and it kind of happened by happy accident because of lockdown, but I really love it, and I've started drawing on wood now and experimenting with wood, and yeah, I'm really liking that at the moment, and mixing the wood, the pencil, and then real neutral natural colours of paint, and that's the layering that I'll do. I'll get the pencils down, plan the perspective of the space, and then put the paint on, and that's probably how I'm working at the moment. It's constantly changing.
I'm curious that because you said you didn't do any studies, where you basically learn all these things. Did you learn by yourself? Did you just decide to search, or you just experimented?
I did A-level art. I don't know whether that counts as training. Absolutely loved it, and probably had, college was really good in that I did like life drawing for a good year and a half. And I did, even from then I've changed. I did like 6 foot by 4 foot, massive kind of huge paintings of bodies and figures. And that's, the extent of the training that I had. Aside from that, it's all self-driven by what I enjoy, what I feel like I've developed most at. Instagram is a curse and a blessing, I guess, because you can, of course, it does good things for artists and bad things for artists, because people are buying less artwork because they can see it on their phone. They have a digital image of this image that they enjoy. So there's that. But for me as a start-out artist, I can look at a huge range of artists all over the world and not necessarily look at how they do things, because it's difficult when you're just looking at a flat image to know what kind of techniques went into it. But certainly different styles that I'm drawn to or not drawn to, and what I think would work for me. So it's more, it's a gradual process of what I enjoy and what I have access to, really.
Nice. How do you choose the color? Because this seems quite like selective. So they feel like specific for, I don't know, for what you try to say, but they're really effective. I really like the whole combination of it. And I want to ask you about something that really interests me every time I see artworks with this kind of element, the empty spaces, because you use quite a lot of empty spaces into your artworks. And I'm always super interested in this. It's one of my little curiosity every time I see something with it. And I want to understand if there is maybe a meaning behind, or did you plan it, or it's just for the composition, for the aesthetic, or it just happens to be like that?
Yeah, no, I guess it's a mixture of all of it, because when I was doing the portraits to begin with, there is a lot of empty space because it's on paper and I wanted the main focus to be on the portrait. But I have strayed away from that. I haven't strayed away from that a little bit. I think I've developed that, because obviously when it was just a pencil drawing with maybe some gold leaf added to it, your contrast, your colours that you use in your negative space are white, and then the image is tones of grey, isn't it, if it's graphite. I feel like I've kind of developed that now, where I'm filling the background, and yes, it's still empty space, but it's colourful empty space. And that developed through using gold leaf as backgrounds or using part paint as backgrounds. And the use of empty space is age old, isn't it? And it's taught religiously. And I guess it's something perhaps that I remember from A-level, is that using empty space contrasts the eye, draws your eye in, takes it to different areas. And it's a tool, I guess. It's a conscious tool. It's not something that it doesn't happen by accident for me. It is something where I think about where I'm placing things and why. And the use of colour on top of that now is starting to emphasise it. I guess one of those incubated ideas that I've had all along, like I said, was different uses of perspective and surrealism. So although it's not completely apparent in my work at the moment, it's something that's like the cogs are turning in the back of my mind, and gradually I'm starting to use that empty space. Empty space as a way to draw your eye in a certain direction. And I mean, I can think of one that I'm doing at the moment and one that I've just done, which is you know, a little bit. I've got it here. I don't know whether it's weird to show it.
Yeah,
Do you want me to show it just so I can?
Yeah,
no, I'm literally sitting at my art table, so I've got a few bits and pieces around here. But this is, I mean, it's the latest one, and although there's like a lot of empty space, it's now I'm trying to use those empty space and blocks to draw eyes towards this corridor in particular. And it's, you know, if you think about the direction of the plant, the direction of the lines that are going along, that's what I'm going for at the moment. It is a conscious thing, believe it or not, but that wasn't a happy accident. That's something that I've had to really stop and think about, but it's good for me because I don't stop and think as often as I should. Like I said, instant gratification, I'm just like in there doing it.
It's something that not a lot of people use, and I think it's a really good tool. Even if there is nothing there is, as you said, if you use it in the right, as you're doing actually, if you use it in the right way, you can push the direction of the focusing of the artwork in one space where you really want people to see, but the whole rest of the artwork, even if it's empty, it says something and it helps the viewer to see the artwork how you want it to see. So it's definitely it's an amazing tool. I really enjoy. I used it quite a few during the last 2 years with my drawings, and I think it's a really good tool. And I don't know, it just seems like really nice, really, even if it's flat, nice color, it's just fantastic.
Yeah, and I think especially and with your own work as well, because I know you do a lot of portraits. Like the two most, I mean, for me, maybe I'm biased, the two most interesting shapes in the world are human figures, because they're organic, natural, instantly recognizable. When you're a baby, your brain is programming to recognize the shapes of a human as, you know, something that's relatable with tribal.
Yeah.
And plants, the shape of leaves are like more and more anyway, but like, you know, the shape of leaves are instantly recognizable. If you saw a shadow of like a cheese, oh, look at that works, doesn't it? If you saw a shadow of a cheese plant, of a Swiss cheese plant, you would know instantly, like, you know, where it is.
Yeah.
And I think putting those two things together now, those two are the most kind of interesting shapes. Having the negative space behind it only emphasizes that for me. It only emphasizes the shape of, you know, facial structures. And it's the same perhaps with the white and the graphite, the white kind of negative space paper and the graphite. I think the negative space emphasizes the things that are there already.
What are your biggest influence with they will push you to do like research? Is it just like literally like scrolling into Instagram, or sometimes you go search for an artist in specific, or something you're interested in as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's both, all of the above. I think definitely like that interest in the houseplant generation, like I said, but artist definitely. Instagram, yeah. I mean, I guess so. Whether it's subconscious or not, obviously, I have my personal and professional Instagram, and I guess a lot of the images that you see are very what's the word? Tailored, very curated. That's the word I'm looking for. Very curated in how they are. You know, everything's perfect. The lighting's perfect. The colouring's perfect. I'm not trying to emanate that at all, and I'm quite clear about that in my comments where I'm talking. You know, if I'm doing a portrait of a woman, I'm including pimples. I'm including pores as best I can. You know, all the normal ugly Instagram parts, you know, the photos that wouldn't be posted basically. And I'm including all of that as a kind of a fingers up to this expectation of what your life should look like according to Instagram. Artists definitely influenced as well, because I mean, of course, it's difficult for artists nowadays, especially with lockdown 2020. Instagram is usually a part of your job.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's part of your promotion. It's something that I'm having to get better at very quickly. But it's also quite dangerous in that you're just showing the perfect final images of your artwork, and that's not necessarily the most interesting thing, but it is the thing that perhaps gets you follows and makes your page look pretty. And as you know, if that's what, and that is what I'm using it for at the moment, is promotion and sales, then perhaps, you know, it is working, I guess, to some extent, but it's not necessarily what I think is best for the artist.
No, it's sure. It's depends how you use it, to be honest. And if you focus in everything in that and you pretend that everything happens because of Instagram, it's not. You need to be able to as well push yourself out there and meet with real people and try to have like this real conversation. And it could be a really good tool, but it's not the only way of doing it.
And it can be really isolating as well, can't it? Because I mean, I only did 2 solo exhibitions beforehand, and they were great because, like, I mean, I get follows from that, but also have the conversations with the people behind it and see sales, and it was great. But yeah, this past 6 months has been a bit bonkers, where you're just living your business through either social media or whatever. I'm not a part of a gallery, and again, I feel like there's this whole generation of artists now that are pushing against that to some degree, because not saying galleries definitely, you know, have their place, but at a time where times are tough, if somebody's taking, you know, or earning half of the commission from your paintings or whatever, then I feel like there's more, social media gives you more of a chance at the moment to be able to be the entrepreneur, your own accountant, your own web designer, your own
it's true. And you don't need in a certain extent all this like traditional way of putting your artwork out there. You can, if you really want, you can decide to take it seriously and push all your resource into like social media and websites, and make a really good website and try to promote that. And you can definitely do that. It's even because those platforms, they are huge and they're free, and that's why I think like a lot of artists use it as well, because you can.
It's changing though, isn't it? I think, I mean, to some extent it's great. To the other extent, it takes a huge amount of time and effort to create the content, so much so that it can distract you away from actually doing the artwork.
Sure.
And I mean, that's what I find for me, is it can be quite distracting, and also too much information at the same time. Because if you're looking at different artists all the time, you're thinking, oh, they're amazing, I love that. You know, you can get imposter syndrome to some extent, which I definitely felt. And also the way the algorithms and whatnot are changing at the moment, it's very much a pay-to-play environment. You know, it's not so simple as, you know, 3 or 4 years ago, when they were still trying to really boost the platform, that they, you know, consider likes and comments in the algorithm, and, you know, that's when influencers were made. So now it's not so much that kind of environment anymore. It is very much pay to play. So sadly, although people, you know, you think it is a free platform to use it well, you do have to pay for it, which is the same, isn't it? And I feel like it takes away from the artwork. And like I said, it's difficult to have people, instead of buying artwork, you can have your image readily on your phone and to look at it. And it's hopefully now, with people spending more time at home, that I think people are taking a little bit more care in curating their own houses. But it's an interesting one. 2020 has just been a bit of a shift, hasn't it, really?
Yeah.
Just having to change it for us all.
You can say that.
Yeah.
Talking about social media and stuff like that, you want to plug in yours so people can like see you and follow you and just support you.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. It's Ashley Fraser Art, at Ashley Fraser Art, and that's the only one I use. I use Instagram, and then my website is literally just www.ashleyfraserart.com. I do the abstract pour paintings as a way to keep my fiance happy because they bring on the most commissions. And that's Ashley Fraser Abstract as well, but they're both linked pages. So yeah, feel free to go and have a scroll and a look, and you'll see all of the madness that I've been talking about in the flesh.
That's lovely. I don't want to take too much time of your day, and it was such a lovely talk, and we made it through like Zoom. And
yeah, it's always a challenge. Always a challenge. At least we didn't have to do a quiz. Thank God for that. This is just a different use for Zoom.
Thank you very much, Ashley, to be part of the podcast, and have a good holidays, and
have Merry Christmas, everyone.
Christmas and New Year's, and good luck with everything, and thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Cheers.
Cheers.